Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Felicia and this is The Feminine Fancy. If you are new here, welcome, come on in, get comfy, and if you are not new, thank you so much for coming back. In today's video, I wanted to talk about things that we should all say yes to more. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I have discussed on this channel, not in depth, but briefly, about how I'm not exactly a say yes kind of person. I'm very much a stick with the plan, go with what we have decided we are going to do. You know, I don't like to deviate from the game plan. But I have found over the years that saying yes to random things that happen, random occurrences, can often lead to some of the best times of your life, the best stories of your life, and the best relationships and friendships of your life when you say yes. Now, of course, not every time you say yes are things going to work out, okay? I'm sure we all have a couple stories where we are like, yeah, I shouldn't have said yes to that. But I find that there is so much more to be gained from saying yes than from saying no to every single thing that happens. And I feel like when you live a life where you say no more than you say yes, you just miss out. You miss out on fun experiences, you just miss out on life. So I wanted to chat about some of the things that we can say yes to today, and I have a list of 10 things that we should consider saying yes to. So I hope that you enjoy it. But before I jump into that, I wanted to thank our sponsor for today's video, which is Caraway Home. When Caraway reached out to me and asked if I wanted to collaborate this month, I was floored. I was so excited. You guys know how much I love being in the kitchen, and so new cookware, yes please. But this isn't just any cookware, you guys. This is 100% non-toxic ceramic cookware. Do you know how difficult that is to find? Not only that, but they come with their own organizers, so there's no more of your pots and pans, you know, thrown everywhere with no organization. And honestly, I really love the organization system because I can display them on my counter and it adds a beautiful pop of color to my kitchen. Speaking of color, we went with the color Marigold. Kane picked it out, he really liked it, and honestly, I'm glad I listened to him because it is just so gorgeous in the kitchen. But they have so many other colors to choose from for whatever vibe that you want in your kitchen. So if you like the sort of neutral vibe, they've got the color cream. If you are obsessed with sage like I am right now, they also have the cookware set in sage. But I have to say, the Marigold is absolutely stunning, and I'm really glad that we went with that one. As soon as my Caraway set arrived, I got to cooking really quickly. And the great thing is, they also send you a little packet that has instructions of how to take care of your Caraway set, of how to store it. So I made sure to follow the instructions, which said to wash your pots and pans with warm soapy water, rinse them off, and make sure they are completely dry before using them, which I did. And I used them to cook dinner the night that they arrived, and oh my gosh, I was stunned. It's very difficult in my kitchen not to burn anything because it's a gas stove. And if you guys have gas stoves at your home, you know gas stoves get super hot. And so I'm constantly burning things. Nothing burned when I was cooking and everything came out absolutely beautifully. The Caraway cookware set is truly an investment in your health and in your home because there's nothing more irritating than having to constantly buy new cookware sets because they're just not as great quality, and so you won't have that problem with the Caraway set. I absolutely love it. You guys are gonna see me using it constantly on Instagram when I post what I'm cooking. And also, as a homemaker, and for my other homemakers out there, if you are looking for a new cookware set, this is the one for you. Again, it just adds a pop of color to your home, to your kitchen. It's healthy, it's good for you and your family, it's completely non-toxic, and it's probably the best cookware set for all of us homemakers. So lucky for you, I have a 10% off site-wide coupon that I will leave in the description box below, and you can shop the cookware set and use it for yourself, and you will see just how amazing it is. Thank you again to Caraway for sponsoring today's video, and now let's talk about the 10 things that you should always say yes to. Okay, so the first thing I think that everyone should say yes to at least once in their life is a road trip. I talk about road trips all the time. I go on road trips all the time because one, I hate to fly. I don't like planes, nor do I like airports, but also it's just so much more fun. I think it's so much more enjoyable if you can. Obviously, if you're going somewhere where you have to cross a body of water, this might not be possible. If you can, going on a road trip is so much fun. I've talked about road trips that I went on in the past when I was in my early 20s, you know, first getting out there and seeing the world, and those memories stay with with me. I had so much fun on those trips and just seeing parts of my state that I did not even know existed. It's really funny how you can live somewhere for your entire life and never know, never see every single corner of it. And when you get in the car, when you go for a drive and you start to see what's out there, it really is eye-opening in so many ways. You try new restaurants, along the way that you probably would have never heard about and would have never gone to unless you were on the road. If you're with someone else, you have a chance to really bond with that person, or if you're by yourself, you have a chance to really bond with yourself and, listen to audiobooks and just be with yourself. And it just gives you so much time to process things, to think, and to reflect. Kane and I went on our first road trip a few years ago to Colorado, which if you guys have been around since then and you watched that video, you are a real one. But we went on a road trip a few years ago and it was just so much fun. I had never seen the landscape and the geography of California to Colorado. I had just never seen it before. And it was so much fun to see Red Rocks and Salt Lake City and just places I had never been and that I wouldn't have seen from a plane. Road trips are so much fun. You make so many memories and they really are a good time. And if you're like me, you don't have to get on a plane. And that is kind of always my MO. Okay, the next thing that you should say yes to is dining alone. So, it's funny, a lot of times when people see other people dining alone, you want to feel like kind of sad for them, like, oh, they're by themselves, they don't have anyone that they're like, sharing a meal with. But honestly, dining alone is sometimes much more enjoyable than dining with someone else because you get to order what you want. You don't have to worry about anyone eating off of your plate or, other little annoyances. And it's just like a really nice way to, romance yourself and to romanticize your life. We went out to dinner at our favorite Thai restaurant a few weeks ago, and the girl at the table next to us, she was just there. She ordered a glass of wine. She got spring rolls as an appetizer. I know this because I said to the waiter, I was like, what's that? Can I have that? I ordered it after I saw what she had. She got spring rolls as an appetizer, and I thought, oh, she's probably just gonna get something quick and then she's gonna go. No, homegirl sat there after her spring rolls and she had a full pad Thai plus wine, and she was on her phone just living her best life. She just looked like she was having a good time, like she was fine on her own and she was just having dinner out. I eat out by myself pretty often and I think it's really nice and it's really fun. I like to take a book sometimes if I don't want to be staring at my phone, but dining alone can be a lot of fun. Don't feel so insecure or so like, oh, I'm by myself, like I don't have anyone. Relish the time that you're by yourself and that you have peace and quiet and the ability to get whatever you want and eat whatever you want and not have to worry about like sharing it or, people saying, oh, I don't really want that, because there will come a time in your life, God willing, or, if this is what's meant to happen for you, where you might not have the ability to spend time by yourself. You might have a family to take care of. You might have kids who are like, eating, putting their little hands on your plate and wanting some of your food, and you might think back and say, oh, I miss the days when I could just go out to dinner by myself. So, don't feel bad if you're going out to dinner alone. Enjoy it and kind of acknowledge it as like a time that you might not always have. Okay, the next thing we should always say yes to is rest when our body is calling for it. I talk about this so much, but especially after getting my neck injury, I realized that it's so important that when your body says stop, you actually listen and you stop. Your body is not the Energizer Bunny. It's not just going to keep going and going and going. Like eventually you are going to crash. And I guess much like the Energizer Bunny or like batteries, it goes for a certain amount of time and then it needs to be recharged. So if your body is telling you something, listen to it. If there's a part of you that's like, oh, I think I need to take a break, find out where are the areas in your life where you can take a break, where you can afford to take a break. Can you afford to take, time off? Can you afford to, spend a weekend away or, do something like that where you're really resting and recharging your body? I am going to, after this, film a video about recharging your feminine energy. So if you want to watch that, head over to Patreon because that's where I make my femininity content now. But it's so important to just rest and recharge. And so when your body is saying, hey, listen to me, stop doing what you're doing, it's important that you say, okay, I'm listening and I will stop, because otherwise you might end up having more problems that you didn't think you were going to have because you didn't listen and you didn't say yes to rest. Okay, the next thing we should always say yes to, I do this all the time, is buying flowers at the grocery store on a whim. My grandma used to always say, buy me flowers while I'm alive. Like, don't bring flowers to my funeral. She would always say that to me. And what she meant was just like, I like like flowers. I want flowers now. I don't need them, you know, when I die. And I think a lot of times we're looking for a reason to validate why we should buy flowers. Like, oh, it's someone's birthday, or oh, it's Mother's Day. No, when I go to Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, or Safeway, sort of holy trinity of grocery stores, when I go to any of those, if I know that my bouquet is like slowly withering away, or if I don't have one at all, I'm like, oh, let me stop and put together a little bouquet for my dining room. I just think that like there's no reason to not buy flowers. Like, yes, they're going to die, but to be fair, they've already been picked and they're going to die anyway. So you may as well enjoy them for the time being. I always say yes to buying flowers at the grocery store, even if that's not what I went for, even if it's not on my grocery list. I'm usually going to pick up some beautiful flowers because I love having them on my dining room table. Okay, next up is trying a new food. Okay, the best example I have for this, we were just in Big Sur for our engagement moon, which if you didn't know about that, head to Instagram. I talked a little bit about it over there. But we basically went on a trip to Big Sur. It was absolutely fabulous and refreshing and exactly what we needed. And one of the things we did while we were there was this sushi experience. And in the sushi experience, there were things that we were served that no idea what they were. Like, he explained it, the sushi chef explained what it was, didn't compute in my brain, right? Like, these were new foods that I'd never seen before and was kind of scared of, but I said yes and I tried them and I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, these were some wild foods. It was like, one was like an egg cooked in fish sauce with a pickled cilantro flower on top. Like, it was so interesting and wild, but I said yes because I wanted to see, okay, what does this taste like? If you're like me, I can be a picky eater. Ask anyone. I don't like peas. I don't like most nuts. I don't like a lot of cheeses. There's a lot of things that I'm like, I don't want to eat that. But I said yes, and I tried these wild foods. I mean, wild to me, probably very common and normal to other people. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, this tastes really nice. Like, I'm not sure about the texture, but it's not bad and I don't mind it. And it was nice too because Kane was right next to me and he will eat literally anything. So whatever I didn't finish, I just like gave to him. He would finish, so nothing went to waste. I think it's really important to try new foods, and you know, I'm all about doing things that are going to give you an opportunity to have conversation later on, or have have the ability to speak on something that you might otherwise not have known much about. And you know, this sushi experience that we did, we are now able to have, you know, certain conversations about what we experienced and what it was like and what it tasted like, and that's really, really fun, and it makes for a very enriching conversation. So I think you should try new foods, and also you never know what you're going to end up liking. I will say I might have foods that I don't like, but I have at least tried them. I at least know I don't like them because I've tasted them. I'm not one of these people who is like, oh, I don't like that, and I've never tried it. I've tried it and I know I don't like it. But you never know. You might end up finding your absolute favorite food from trying something new. So that is my advice. Try a new food and you might find out that it's like the best thing ever, and you would have never known if you don't try it. Okay, this one is maybe controversial, but I would say always say yes to a date. And when I say that, you know, already I can feel you clamming up. I don't mean say yes to a date if you feel, if you feel uncomfortable, if you know you don't like the person, if you guys, if you feel pressured, like nothing like that. I'm suggesting say yes to a date that you might otherwise have said no to for, maybe like a silly reason. You might be pleasantly surprised, but you just never know. You never know who you're gonna meet. You never know what kind of conversation you're going to have with someone when you're on a date. And a lot of times you know them in a certain capacity, like in a certain context, like if it's a classmate or if it is, a work colleague or someone you know from work. You know them in that context. You don't know them outside of that context. So sure, at work or at school, maybe you're not really interested, but outside of that context, you might be a little bit more interested. And you might find that you have things in common, but you would never know if you never spend time away from that specific environment with that person. So I think it's good to say yes to dates, of course, with people that you're attracted to and that you're interested in, but also sometimes with people that are a little bit more unassuming and who, you might not have as much, You might think you don't have a lot in common. Maybe just give it a shot, see what you think. But of course, always listen to your intuition. If your intuition is telling you that this is not the person that you don't need to spend alone time with this person, listen to your intuition. If like I said, if you know, like, this just isn't, I don't like them, I don't like how they treat other people, I don't like how they talk to their coworkers or whatever, some character things you can see from afar. You don't need to be one-on-one to find out, but little differences you might find are not that big of a deal, and you might find that you have more in common with this person than you might think. And who knows, they might end up becoming the love of your life, and then you might end up getting married and having babies, and it would be a wonderful, wonderful life. You would never know. Comment down below if you have a story like that, where like you weren't into your husband or your boyfriend or whatever, and then you went out with them and then you ended up happily ever after. I want to see all the happily ever after stories. Okay, the next thing that you should always say yes to, community gatherings. It's so important to know what is going on in your community. Here in our community, there are block parties, there are things going on all the time, and it's so much fun. You get to meet the other people in your community and you get to chat with them. Hear about their life. Have they always lived in your city? Where are they from? Not only that, but you get to find out some of the more important things going on in your community when you attend community gatherings. We live in a very isolated, insular society now. We're not very community based, and I think that does a huge disservice to a lot of us, because a lot of life is communal, right? Like, we eat meals together, we work together, like a lot of our lives are communal, but when it comes to how we exist in the world, it's almost like we are all doing it on our own. And I think it's really important to sort of pour into and foster and nurture relationships with other people in your community. The next thing you should always say yes to is dressing how you want to dress. I talked about this on Instagram not long ago, about how I have been made fun of for wearing, childish looking dresses. And sometimes it be your own family who come at you with the jokes about, why are you wearing that? And, you look like a kid, you need to dress more, whatever, either more something or less something, right? People are always gonna have something to say. But I think you should always say yes to dressing how you want to dress, and dressing however makes you feel the most confident when you walk out of your door in the morning. And if that is a frilly dress, then it's a frilly dress. And if that is jeans and a t-shirt, I'm no judgment here. Whatever makes you feel the most beautiful and the most confident, that's what you should go for. Again, we live in a trendy society, so we like to follow the trends. We like to look at the celebrities and see what they're doing and see what they're wearing and be like, okay, that's what I now need to do. But that is an inauthentic way to live. Live in such a way that you are showing up as your authentic self as much as possible. And one of the best ways to do that is through dress, because unless somebody gets the chance to speak with you and to chat with you, all they're going to see, and the only thing that they have to go off of, is what you're wearing and how you're dressed. And so it's really a wonderful opportunity, because we get to decide how we want to present ourselves to the world. Dressing how you want to dress and how you feel the most confident is something you should always say yes to. Next up is foreign and independent films. You guys know I love a good indie film. I am obsessed with a good indie film. Do they always end up the way that I want them to? No, rarely, but it's so much fun. Kane, my mom, and I went to go see Parallel Mothers a few weeks ago, and it was directed by Pedro Almodovar, and that is one of Kane's favorite directors. He was like, I love this guy, like, let's go see this film. And the entire movie, it was in Spanish, it was subtitles, and we saw it in this cute little theater. And I just think that it's so, first off, I love theaters. I love movie theaters so much, but I love seeing foreign films and independent films. If you have the opportunity to go see a foreign film or even an indie film, I would say do it, because they never end up the way you think they're going to, and it keeps you on your toes. And finally, the last thing that I think that we should all say yes to is going to art exhibitions and museums. I am the first one to say I don't really like museums. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't mind them, but it's not always on the top of my mind to be like, let's go to a museum. That's Kane. He wants to go see a museum. He wants to go to an art exhibit. He will drag me along. And every time I go, I'm like, why don't I like this? This is so great. It's so wonderful being able to see other people's art and their expression and hear their stories and watch their stories. I don't know why I am like not the kind of person who wants to go to an art exhibit or a museum, but I'm trying to say yes to it more, and I would encourage you to do the same. You learn so much. It's just so enriching, and also just the vibe, the feeling you get from being in a museum is kind of like, I don't know, it makes me feel kind of special. I'm like, oh, I'm in a museum with other people who go to museums. But besides all that, you just learn so much, and it is always a wonderful experience. And I'm always for learning about other people's viewpoints, other people's perspectives, where people are coming from with their art. I just love that so much. So always say yes to going to an art exhibit or a museum. All right, friends, that is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing if you liked this content. Comment down below what are some of the things that you always say yes to, or that you always want to say yes to. I would love to add to this list because there are probably so many more things, so please leave a comment down below. You can find me on Instagram at _thefemininefancy_, and you can also find me on my blog at thefemininefancy.com. Thank you so much to Caraway for sponsoring our video. I'm in love with my cookware set. You guys will see me using it on Instagram. And remember, you can get 10% off site-wide when you click the link in the description box below. All right, my loves, that is it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.